Going on YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another VGC Spotlight video, and today we're going to be looking at Quaquaval. So in the previous video, we looked at Skeledirge, so that means today we're doing the second starter, which is Quaquaval, and you can already guess what the next one's going to be. Yes, the one after this will be Meowscarada. But again, you know, with all these Spotlight videos, what we're going to be doing is, one, we're going to be taking a look at the base stats, you know, making some comments on that, look at its typing, you know, make up some comments on that, the ability, same thing, and then, you know, start looking at some potential threats to the meta for that specific Pokemon, or things you might want to use it for that reason. And then at the end, we'll actually, in the middle, we'll talk about some potential EV spreads with some items that you might want to use with this mon. And then at the end, we'll discuss maybe some potential partners that we compare the said Pokemon with, right? So now we're going to be looking at the base stats first, so let's just go ahead and get right onto it. All right, so looking at Quaquaval's stats, all right, you know, the one thing that I'm going to, you know, bring to your attention is not necessarily his attack stat, which is actually pretty good. It's the speed here, right? So again, you know, if you've been watching me for a while, you know how I feel about speeds like this. You know, anytime you have a Pokemon that's within, like, you know, the 60s or the 70s up to, like, you know, mid 90s or low 90s, that's what we call an awkward speed tier, right? Because, you know, for something like Quaquaval, again, you're too fast for Trick Room, right? Like you're fast, but you're not that fast. So you're too fast for Trick Room, and you're not fast enough, you know, to be like a truly, you know, fast sweeper, right? So like you have a middling speed tier, is what we like to say, right? And that's a little bit interesting because now we have to find ways to have you outspeed certain threats, you know, because your own speed tier is not good enough, right? So we're not going to be putting this on Trick Room. I think 85 is just too fast, and it doesn't really have that much bulk to help it out in Trick Room, right? Because if this Quaquaval base stats over here, if it had a lot more bulk, then I can say, okay, we can probably pull off Trick Room. But because it's kind of like, not like frail, not paper frail, but, you know, not that great of a bulk, it's like basically average the entire way, you know, it's not really, you know, beneficial to put this in Trick Room. Now, can we put this in Tailwind? Yeah, we can. But he does have a move that can help it get speed control, and we'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of stats, looking at the bulk first, you got 85 base HP, 80 defense, 75 base special defense. So, you know, it's not great, it's not awful, but, you know, it's just not very good. So right away, you're just going to be using this as a physical attacker on your type of team, and the ability is what helps it out a lot in what I'm looking at here in terms of, like, not Torrent, but Moxie, right? So with Moxie, you're able to get an extra stage in your attack, you know, if you pick up a KO, right? And now you have to start thinking, okay, how do I get KOs so I can steamroll with this thing, all right? But again, keeping in mind, you gotta get that speed control, right? So we'll talk about moves in a second, how we can help Quaquaval do that. But the fighting water typing, okay, you know, you are already thinking of something like Urshifu, like back in the Sword and Shield days. You know, Urshifu Rapid Strike was always a menace, you know, as was the other Urshifu. But they're not here, and now we have this thing. So, okay, you know, not the worst typing, I would say, not the greatest in terms of, like, weaknesses and resistances. You know, and if you are wondering what those are, you can always plug them into the terrestrial calculator, you know, from Maki and JR. But as far as, like, water type, fighting type, so anytime I see, like, fighting coverage, I'm already thinking, like, do you have close combat, right? And the answer is yes, you do. Okay, so you have that going for you, right? And then we'll get into water stabs in a second because he has a couple of signature water moves. But again, you know, you're already thinking, okay, water fighting. So I can definitely use the fighting coverage to help out against a lot of these dark types that are running around. So it has a niche there. And then the water typing is pretty good against stuff like, you know, a fire type of Pokemon that doesn't want to deal that, a ground type, a rock type. You know, there's a few of those running around. Okay, so let's just take a look here, and as far as, like, what we can deal damage with. So in terms of, like, fire coverage, who can we use Quaquaval for that we think is going to be pretty popular? So Arcanite's not bad. Armor Rouge, okay, that's really nice. Ceruledge is another one. You know, Chi-Yu, okay, so, like, Chi-Yu's really nice that we can use Quaquaval for. I don't know how many people are going to use Colossal, but yeah, I guess you can, right? The Iron Moth, okay, that's another thing we can use it for. Rotom, I expect Rotom to be used a lot just because it's a Pokemon that doesn't have you know, true weaknesses once you have Terrestrial activated. Maybe this thing, I don't really know. Scovillain, All right, some people will try Skeledirge, Talonflame for tail and stuff. Torkoal, Volcarona, yes, I expect these two to be very popular. So I guess there's a niche for Quaquaval, right? In terms of like what I want to use its typing for. And then you have just like these pre-evolution stuff. So there's merit to having to use Quaquaval, I guess. So now what about like any potential dark coverages, right? So let's take a look at that. In far as what I can use the fighting coverage for. Yeah, Brute Bonnet, that's one thing. Now, this is like a 50-50 thing because it is a grass type. Qian Pao, okay, yep, that's 4 times weak. So definitely want to use that for him. Hydreigon is another one that I expect to be decently relevant in the meta. Iron Jugulis, just because it's a pretty good paradox. King's Gambit, yes. King's Gambit. Kinga Gambit, right? Close combat is going to be very, very useful there. Okay, the new dog with Intimidate will be good. Yep. Okay, Roaring Moon, again, another very popular threat that you can use Quaquaval for. What else we got here? Tinglu, I know some people are going to try that. Tyranitar, another one. And then we can use the water coverage for that. So, Umbreon, okay, sure. Maybe Wo-Chien, I'm not quite sure about that one. But yeah, Bisharp, maybe with an Eviolite could be used. All right. So we got some uses here, all right? And let me just check rock typing actually, just because that's the one that also water is good against. What is this? Wait, no, I didn't mean to. There we go, rock typing. Okay, Glimora, yeah, I could definitely see some usage there. The Lichen Rocks, I don't know, maybe Croft, pretty decent. Trick, actually not even. No, I don't know how many people are gonna be using this. Iron Thorns could be used a little bit, yes. We already talked about T-Tar. Knuckle Stack, yes. I definitely think this will be used a little bit, especially if it has like a body press set. Garganical, I meant, not Knuckle Stack. I was looking at the stats, like, wait a minute. Yeah, definitely Garganical, of course. And then we did talk about Colossal, right? So again, look at all these Pokemon that we think are going to be relevant in the meta. And look how well Quaquaval can match up to it. So there's some decent usage in this water fighting coverage, I would say. Now you just got to worry about the weaknesses. You got to worry about the psychic types. You got to worry about the fairy types. All right, the electric and the grass types. All right, so defensively, it gets a little interesting, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we go through the video. But now let's talk about how we can actually use it in terms of a move set and an item choice, because right off the bat, you can tell with this base 120 attack stat, we're going to be using this as a physical sweeper, where we have some speed control options on the team, because this base 85 speed is just not going to cut it. All right, so now let's take a look at some potential movesets that we can run with Quaquaval. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some potential movesets that could run. And again, the ability is really good, Moxie, right? Because this is what lets you, steamroll after you get KOs, right? So now you're going to want some big hitting moves that can help Quaquaval, utilize Moxie. So let's look at the 2 stabs. Water and fighting coverage. So what you can do is just filter out water here, and then you can just find some potential moves that it has. So you got Aqua Jet, which is not bad, but again, just base 40 power. I think we're going to need a little bit more. And again, we don't want any special moves like Hydro Pump or Surf, because we're not really a special attacker. And a lot of these are special attacking moves, right? Like Water Pledge, Gun, Pulse, Chilling Water, these are all special attacking moves. So physical options, Aqua Step, this is the one that I like a lot, and this is the one that most people will be trying to use it with, because if you read it, it says 100% chance to raise the user's speed by 1. This is exactly what you want on Quaquaval, because the one troubling stat was the speed, and now you have a way to increase your speed, even after you use it, right? And if you can combine this with Moxie, so if you clean up, if you get like a lot of revenge KOs, now you get a speed boost and you get an attack boost. So basically you get an active form of Dragon Dance. And that's what you're going to want to try and do with Quaquaval, because, this is your main way of, putting on pressure on the opponent, right? So Aqua Step's really good. In terms of other types of water moves for consideration, if I just filter it one more time. Again, Liquidation, good move, but why would I need to do that when I have Aqua Step, right? I'd rather have the speed. Liquidation is nice, but again, Aqua Step is a little bit better. Wave Crash is the other one that you can consider using. Again, 33% recoil. So this is like the Flare Blitz version of for water types now. Now, again, very strong move. I can see some merit here. But again, I think the speed is just way too important. If Quaquaval was faster, then you can consider Wave Crash, right? But because it's not that fast, I think Aqua Step has more merit than Wave Crash, right? Because this is VGC, speed control is always a must. Aqua Cutter, again, another cool move, high crit ratio, but again, not as valuable as Aqua Step, right? So we've got this, and of course, the main fighting move that it has, we're gonna be putting is Close Combat. But just to show you that there are some other considerations, I mean, you do have Bulk Up, which is actually kind of nice. You can raise your attack and defense for like, you know, setting up. So you can do it that way if you want to set up Quaquaval, but you're going to need some redirection and Intimidate support to help you do that. You do have Brick Break. You can destroy screens. So if you're going against potential Grimmsnarl teams or other teams that are just using Light Screen Reflect, Brick Break can help you do that. I don't think you need to do that just yet because, you know, there's no live rank ladder yet. So until we see a bunch of Grimmsnarls, I don't think you're going to want to need Brick Break. Low Kick is interesting, but again, not so consistent enough. Sweep could be good, you know, again, getting speed control, and it's a stab move. So low sweep could be something. I don't think you really need a reversal here. So the easiest choice is, of course, Close Combat, right? So I think we're just going to go with that. And then from here, your last two movesets. So you have a couple options. I mean, the easiest thing is just to put Protect as your fourth move, and then just have one more coverage move in the Quaquaval set. So if you just take a look at overall what it can do, let's see here. Acrobatics, no, we're probably going to give it an item. We don't want any special moves. Brave Bird's a good one. I've seen Kevin from Pokesports and Neil also use Brave Bird on their sets, and it makes a lot of sense, right? It's a strong flying type coverage move. Terra Flying is always really nice, so, you know, Brave Bird is a good one. What else is interesting? Does get Helping Hand, so that could be another cool thing. A lot of things get Helping Hand, so you could even have that as like a supporting thing. Icy Wind, speed control, but again, we're a physical attacker. I don't think we're a bulky support mon. What else we got here? There's sub. Okay, Swords Dance. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But Swords Dance is another good move, but we're gonna use that as a separate set. U-Turn's another good one. You know, just for like pivoting options, you know, just in case, you know, the situation's not so favorable. I think this is better with like a Choice Scarf set, which again, we will also discuss as we progress through the video. But as far as whatever moves we got here, like Chilling Water, Disarm Reverse, Double Hit, these are not so great. Feather Dance, again, not bad, but, you know, we're not trying to be supportive here. We just want to deal damage, right? Giga Impact, good move, but, you know, not good enough for this set. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, oh, Workup. Okay, that's interesting. No, I don't think we need that either. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, just to go with, like, a standard set here with, like, Brave Bird, I think this is relatively decent. And then just put, like, a Life Orb here. Honestly, just have, like, all your moves just deal a lot of damage. And, you know, a Life Orb set, you know, on a Pokemon like this is really nice because now you're dealing a lot of stab damage, you know, and then you honestly you could just go like Terra Water or even Terra Flying here. It really all depends on up to you, but just for the sake of having Brave Bird, we can always do like Terra Flying here. But again, that's not so great for like the electric coverage. So if you want to just keep it as Terra Water, which I highly recommend, or Terra Fighting, that's also great. But yeah, Life Orb with these three moves is very good. And in terms of like an EV spread, like, you know how I like to do my spreads. Again, I always like to do optimized Life Orb chip and then just dump the rest in its attack after you've gotten all your speed EVs. So here's the problem with that this time around. So first of all, we're gonna go Jolly, of course, because we're a physical attacker. Max out the speed, which is a really nice speed tier. And honestly, you can always go for like 143 or 144 just to outspeed Dragapult after +1, which we'll talk about in a bit. You know, this is after like a +1 Aqua Step. But honestly, I think with this type of setup, I think you just want to go max speed here. And then from here, if you want to optimize your Life Orb chip, you want to end with 169, because 169 divided by 10, 16.9, which rounds down to 16 damage per Life Orb tick. All right. Whereas if I were to break your threshold like this with 170, now it's 17 damage per turn, as opposed to this where you're at 169 to 16 damage per turn. But The problem here is this is a lot of investment for a Life Orb Chipmon. And our physical attack is good, but you know, it's not like super amazing, because if we just come down to it, we did this, right? I think this is a bit too much of an attack loss. I know we have a Life Orb here, but I don't think you need to do this. I think you can just go max, honestly, with something like this. I think max is totally fine, given the stats that we have, okay, with the Life Orb set. And if you really cared, you could just do something like this, where you just put 1 point in each of the bulk and then just max out the attack like this. So if you want to do that, that's totally fine. But again, nothing wrong with 252 for this Life Orb set, okay? So, you know, a very standard set. It does what it needs to do. You're supposed to hit hard and, you know, pick up KOs, try and get Aqua Step boosts. And now you're being really fast, and then you just steamroll the opponent, potentially, right? So that's one kind of set. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of Swords Dance sets. So some different variations that you can try with Quaquaval, all right? So let's take a look at some Swords Dance sets. Okay, so if I want to do like Swords Dance stuff, so first I'm going to set up Quaquaval one more time, and then just set it to level 50 here. So if I'm doing Swords Dance, right? The one thing that, again, I'm going to still put in Aqua Step. That's Aqua Jet. I do like Aqua Step, and then I still like Close Combat. I feel like there's a couple things you could do with this, and I'll leave the last slot blank for a second. Because you have Swords Dance, right? And I'm still gonna give it the Life Orb, by the way. But there's also a Focus Sash build that I'm gonna talk about towards the later parts of the video, but I'll keep the Life Orb for now. Of course, we're still Moxie. Because you have Swords Dance, right? And because you have a Life Orb, I don't think you need to fully invest in the attack stat. What I think you want to also consider is investing in its bulk. And then this way you can maybe take a hit or two, and then or then pick up a KO with the Swords Dance stuff, and then start steamrolling with Moxie, right? Now that being said, you know, I know the bulk isn't like super amazing to be able to do this, but you can still invest a little bit where you can take at least one hit, you know? So let's take a look at that. So there's two ways to do this. Either you go like a fast set where you sacrifice most of your attack and just invest in more bulk, or you drop the speed a little bit, looking at some other threats in the meta, and then invest a little bit more in attack and more in the bulk. So that's the two ways you want to consider doing this. And I'll leave this last slot blank for a second here. But if you want to be still fast, but hit harder, but not that much investment, so I would just go Adamant here. And what you can do is max speed this, right? And what this does, 137, after a +1 Aqua Step, who do you speed tie, which is very important. 137 times 1.5, that gets you to 205. And if you look as far as like big, fast threats in the meta, that speed ties right here, Flutter Mane, right? Because if you look at Flutter Mane, first of all, Flutter Mane is a fairy type. We don't want to be taking Moonblast as a Quaquaval, but Flutter Mane as, let me just put like Timid here, right? So this is what you speed tie as Quaquaval, right? And after a +1, and it's a little unfortunate, but at the very least, you know, you can challenge the Flutter Mane if they don't choose to go max speed here, but a lot of them probably will. But again, you have Aqua Step, so you can still potentially outspeed Flutter Mane if you can get up at least a couple KOs here, or not even KOs, just using it, right? The KOs for the Moxie boost. But that being said, I think you can still max speed it going Adamant Nature, and then just put just to the first EV bump here. So right here, you see how you go from 163 to 165. This is our first EV bump here, and that's all the attack you need, right? You got Swords Dance, you got Life Orb. Why do you need so much attack investment? Let's go into the bulk a little bit. And now what we can do is aim for an HP that ends in a 9. So this way we can optimize the Life Orb chip. So you can go to 169. I think you can go a little bit more. I still think we want a little bit of bulk. I think this is still too little. If you want to go to 179 like this, I think this is a little bit better. So now you have this much HP, this much attack, a lot of speed still, but not as much as we had before. But again, we have a little bit more bulk now. And now we have 32 EVs. So now let's just divide it up this way, where you have a tiny bit of defense and special defense investment, right? So this is a slightly bulkier Quaquaval that's slower, but can hit harder because you have access to Sword Dance, right? And then this last slot, you can still keep Protect, all right, if you want. Otherwise, if you don't want Protect, you can still go for Brave Bird, or you can go for U-Torn. You know, these are all good viable options, right, that you can consider on Quaquaval. But I like Protect just because, you know, it's so good. So that's one way to do it. What I'm going to do is import this, and now I'm going to recopy that spread and show you a different kind of way that you can do this. Now, what else is like threatening? So what you can do is now lower this speed and then invest in more attack, because you might be thinking 165 even with a life orb. I don't know if it's picking up any KOs. I think we want to invest a little bit more attack, Clover. So I guess we can do that. So here's what we want to do. We're gonna have to take away from that speed a little bit, right? But then you have to think about, well, what else is threatening besides the Flutter Mane? So if we go to 148 investment here, you can see that we go to 124. And what does 124 go for? So 124 times 1.5 after +1 goes to 186. All right, so something has 185 speed when it's max speed. So let's take a look at what that Pokemon could be. All right, in terms of trying to outspeed something. And I think that is going to be this thing. Where are you? Let me go down a little bit more. Not Meowscarada. All right. Nope, not this one. It could be. Where is it? I had it. Hold up. Let me go back. Give me one moment. Oh yeah, this is what I was looking for. Sorry. It was the Iron Valiant, right? So look at Iron Valiant. Again, another popular threat with a fairy coverage. Fairy fighting, by the way. And it's got a very hard-hitting physical move. Where is it? Does it get player up? I think it does. Well, either way, it does get a lot of psychic coverage moves. Spirit. Oh, this thing gets Spirit Break. Oh my god, that's insane. We'll talk about Iron Valiant in another video. I did not know it got Spirit Break. Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold on a second here. Wait, what are the fairy coverage moves that it gets? That's Fairy Lock. I just want to see. Hold on. What do you have here? Okay, so you got Moonblast, D-Gleam, and Spirit Break. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. So, wow. Actually, this could be used as a physical instrument. Oh, see, this is what I kind of hate. Because now, like, all these investments could have been in the bulk, and then you just pick one of these. All right, we'll do another video on Iron Veil another day. But either way, that fairy coverage is threatening, so I want to outspeed it. And I notice that, when this thing is max speed, let's just pick Timid for the sake of it. It hits 184, so I want to go to 185 to outspeed this Iron Valiant after +1, and this is what 124 is for. So that's why we're investing it this way. And now you have 104 EVs left to play with. So you can invest another 80 EVs to go to the second bump like this. And then now you have 24 more EVs where you can just put into the bulk, into something like this in the special defense, right? So you're a slower Quaquaval, but you hit harder, and you still have your HP bulk and just a tiny bit more special defense, right? So again, that's what you want to do. If you wanted a slower but a harder hitting set, this is a faster, not as harder hitting, but still bulkier set. And of course, this is just a straight 253-252 spread. All right. Now, that being said, what you can also consider if you do this is, what about if I just want to invest a little bit more HP rather than all this bulk here, and rather than just all this attack? I still want to be a little bit more bulkier, but still want to keep this spread. So then what you could do is just do something like this, and I'll import one more time. All right, where are you? So now we'll keep the speeds here the same. I still want to aim to outspeed the Iron Valiant, but now I'll take some of that attack away, and now let's invest in more HP, and you can do it like this if you care so for it. I'll take some of the speed away for a second. I'll go to 189, something like this. Now, again, you've optimized more Life Orb chip damage. You're ending in a 9, and now you have a lot more HP, but you have a little bit more EVs to play with in terms of your bulk. And now you can just add all this into special defense, or you can split it between defense and special defense. We don't have a damage calc at the moment, so there's no way I can calc what kind of hits I want to live at the moment. But if you want to just split it up evenly for the time being, you could just do this. And now you have, again, another Life Orb Swords Dance set, you know, where you have the same amount of attack investment as the other one, but you have more HP and you're a little bit slower, right? But you know, it all depends on how you want to do this. Again, I'm giving you options, right? You know, do you want to be harder hitting but slower, or do you want to be faster but not hit as hard but still have a little bit of both, right? So I gave you some options here with a Swords Dance Life Orb set. But honestly, if you still want to keep Swords Dance and just want to like max out everything no matter what, then I wouldn't do the Life Orb anymore. But instead, I would just do a 252 set. Still go something like Jolly. Of course, you still want all that speed, and just do something like this, honestly. If you didn't like any of that, just max out the speed and the attack, and then with Swords Dance and Close Combat, Aqua Step, and Protect, just do a Focus Sash set. And you know, you can just do this, right? And this is still totally fine. It depends on you, the viewer, how you want to play your Quaquaval and what kind of tools that you have on the rest of your team, right? So I gave you like, how many Swords Dance sets did I give you? I gave you 4 Swords Dance sets, and 3 of them involve using the Life Orb. Okay, so now the last set that I want to try and give you is this Choice Scarf set. So let's take a look at that one. All right, so now we're going to input Quaquaval one last time and look at a potential Choice Scarf set. So Choice Scarf is going to help me a lot just because I don't have to invest all my speed EVs, and then I can consider adding more into my bulk, into my attack stat, right? So Choice Scarf will give me that +1 that I need anyway. And of course, this will still be Aqua Step and Close Combat. And you know, you don't want to run Protect anymore, of course, because you'll be locked. So now we need 2 attack moves. Honestly, this should still be Brave Bird. And now you can get your pivot move of U-turn, right? I think this is totally fine, especially against like dark coverage, right? Because U-turn is really, really nice. And if we're against stuff like psychic moves or fairy Pokemon, you know, we kind of want to get out of there. So let's just do that. But yeah, when you consider like the fastest Pokemon in the meta, something like Dragapult, I think that's also something that you want to consider outspeeding. And with a Choice Scarf, a Jolly spread, you only need 143 investment to do that, because 143 with a 1.5 boost, if you were to do it in your calculator, which I will show you here, you will get 214, which 214.5, which rounds down to 214, and then Dragapult hits 213, so you outspeed that, and then you can now utilize your Aqua Step even more. You'll be locked into it, and if you pick up a KO, that's basically another speed boost, and then you have an attack boost, right? So that's really, really nice. So given that, honestly, you can just leave it like this at 143, but other people are going to be aiming for this 143 stat too. So what I like to do is speed creep the speed creeper and just not only go 144, because there's going to be people doing that too. I'm going to go to 145 just to be a little bit more on the safe side, and this will outspeed those Dragapult speed creepers. And now you can just go all attack here, and now you have a little bit of bulk EVs left. So just put 1 point here, 1 point here, and then the rest just goes into the HP stat, something like this. So the goal again with this, you know, with a Scarf set, just have almost max speed, but again, you took off a little bit of the speed just so that you have a little bit more extra bulk in your HP stat, and of course still max out the attack stat. And again, this is for Dragapult. And you get access to 1 more move as opposed to this where you have Protect. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah, we covered 3 types of move sets here. You got a standard Life Orb set with Protect, no Swords Dance. Then I gave you a bunch of Swords Dance sets that are either Life Orb or a Focus Sash set. And then over here you have a Choice Scarf set. So yeah, again, but you get the idea of how we're trying to use Quaquaval, right? We're trying to keep in mind the speed that we want it to be, and then we want to outspeed that potential threat, you know, and then just go from there, right? So hope you found some interesting ideas with what we gave here in this part of the video. But now let's talk about a couple of potential partners that you could use Quaquaval with just to help out a little bit more with this speed problem, right? So let's take a look. Okay, so, you know, given what we have here, so I think this, again, the speed tier, I think it's too fast for Trick Room. I don't think we want this on a Trick Room team. I do think we want this on like a more balanced team that will give like adequate bulk and then, you know, give you speed control with other ways besides Tailwind, right? So you look at the bulk and you see that this is not so great. So I think something like an Arcanine on the team, you know, with Intimidate and a Snarl on it is pretty good. I think that's how you want to approach it first. And then from here, you know, you're weak to grass things, you're weak to electric things, and I think the dragon typing is going to be really good for that reason. And I think something like a Garchomp here could be really good. But any like strong meta dragon could be really good here with like Terra Steel, of course, just because you know, with a dragon and a Quaquaval, you have two fairy weaknesses, but something's got to give me some steel coverage here. And I think Garchomp with an iron headset would be really nice on a team like this. So we got dragon, we got steel coverage, we got a fire and a water combination here. I think something like a grass type of Pokemon here, maybe even something like an Amoonguss here would be really nice, just to be able to, you know, hide behind redirection, you know, with Rage Powder. And of course you always have Sport Pressure, but you can set up you can just click a Rage Powder and just start clicking Aqua Steps. So this way you can protect yourself and not take too much damage. And then once you got all your speed boost, then you can start going for KOs and hopefully get up your Moxie stuff. But yeah, I think a core like this could be really nice. I do think you need a fairy on the team just to help you deal with those other types of dark coverages which you might see. Granted, you are a fighting type, so you already have something against those dark types. But you know, I think something like maybe even just to help Garchomp do more damage, you know, because you're gonna have Earthquake. I think maybe even something like Gardevoir with Telepathy could be nice. But from here, honestly, I would just go like more speed control options, maybe like even a Tailwind Bond, maybe even something like Grimmstomp could be good here, just to help you set up screens, and then maybe one more sweeper in the back, because we have a lot of this is already 3 Pokemon with a defensive backbone, so maybe you pull out one of these. But yeah, I mean, just as a core, I think these 4 is pretty good. And then from there, you just have to consider, maybe I want to add another one of those Paradox Pokemon onto the team, especially the ones with like what's that ability called? Hold on. Iron, yeah, not the Quark Drives, but the other one. God, what is that thing? So Moon, yeah, oh, Photosynthesis, right? So some of these with Photosynthesis could be really good. But yeah, definitely a core like this, a balanced team with Quaquaval, right? If you want to consider like Tailwind options, honestly, if you want to take a look at those to see here, who gets Tailwind here. Okay, so with like Garchomp and Quaquaval, you're 2 physical attackers, so maybe something with like, you know, Defiant or Competitive could be really good. So consider that. And then with Tailwind, maybe even something like Braviary could be really nice. I think that's okay. You know, with Tailwind support, you know, there's a lot of Pokemon that get Tailwind this time. What else? Kilowattrel. This is also interesting, right? Because you get a flying type coverage, as well as a Tailwind Pokemon with electric coverage as well. I think this one's interesting that you can consider. Maybe even Pelipper stuff on a rain team. I don't think that's that great, but you have that option too. Who else? Oh, Staraptor with Intimidate and Tailwind. Okay, that's also interesting. Talent. Well, we already got Arcanine. Yeah, so a couple of these options are pretty good. You know, definitely consider that. But you know, just like a balanced team with this as a core could be really nice. And you know, just add some of these Paradox Pokemon. Maybe even like what's that thing called? Is this it? Not Tinglu, the other thing. Hold on, it's actually really fast. Let me just go by speed. Oh yeah, the Qianpao, something like this, because you can drop defenses, which is actually really good for Quaquaval, especially with Aqua Step. So I could see this being on a team with these Pokemon here. Maybe a core like this. I think it's actually kind of cool. It's 4 times weak to fighting, so you're definitely gonna want to have like a Psychic type or Fairy type on the team. But definitely something like this to start things off. And then from there, you know, we'll consider, right? But again, we'll do a full team building video in another part. You know, I think Quaquaval's okay. I don't think it's like super good. But if you had to use it, these are the types of sets I would run, and maybe some potential partners like this, right? So you got Intimidate, you got Redirection, Support, you have something for Trick Room, and you got another sweeper like this. Maybe even go a special sweeper just to have a little bit more balance in terms of your team's attacking potential here, right? So let me know what you think of what we presented with Quaquaval, and again, in the next one, we're going to be taking a look at Meowscarada and see what kind of sets we can have there. But yeah, we'll be back in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good night.